Hey, we're back. It's day 2 from AI4. What a conference. Boy, we had our panel discussion this morning. It went very well. We probably had 100 people in the room. We were talking about how to deploy AI throughout the enterprise, something that we've done very successfully at Gregory FCA. It was a great response because everyone on the panel was about compliance and privacy, and I seem to have been the only one that was actually deploying within an organization. And now we're going to flip and we're going to talk about a little bit about Internet of Things and AI and how that can be improved in various aspects. I'm here with Scott Gerard. He's a PhD and a researcher, and he works as a consultant in that field. Did I get that right, or did I screw it up?
No, that's right. That's what I do.
And you were telling me some of your work has to do with the electrical grid and some of the things you can monitor. So give me a case study. How would AI help manage assets out in the field?
Well, one of the examples that we did was there are these large power transformers, 10,000 volt transformers. Each one of them is down converting power for a neighborhood, so like 100 homes, right? But there were like 40 of them in this European city. You don't want to have to roll trucks all the time to go out to these things because that's expensive and time consuming. So what we did is we had an IoT device that measured like 13 dimensions of this transformer: temperature, pressure, humidity, light, sound, electromagnetic radiation that was coming off of the device. And we went in and built an AI model. Now, this isn't generative AI. This is just like traditional AI, predictive AI.
The hard stuff, not like the stuff I do. Like, write me a news release about my great company.
That's right.
Right.
And so we were looking for anomalies in the device. And, you know, anomalies are occurring about 1/100th of 1% of the time. But from an operations point of view, it's great. Instead of having to have people watching all of these transformers all the time, it's like, I'll pop up something, you know, this one is the one you need to look at now. You don't need to worry about the rest.
Is that all coming from signals? Or are you doing past data on maintenance or anything like that?
We trained it on past data, but the application was running live in the, they're actually in these enclosures. And you have to have special training to even go into the enclosure because it's such high voltage. But if you put the device in there, we can measure what's going on, and it is reporting back to the operations center, but it's running live. But it can't touch the device. The guys who built the IoT device itself had to be disconnected from it. They were in the same enclosure, but they were just kind of watching it from like 6 feet away.
So what other applications would this be? And give me some idea in supply chain and manufacturing and how you would do this in a similar business, perhaps.
I think manufacturing is a great example. There's a lot of devices on the manufacturing floor. They all have their own signatures of what is normal for that device. And of course, that can change as the system ages, as it's repaired and as it's replaced. So you need to be rebuilding these models periodically to keep it current. But all of my devices on the floor, are they okay, or are some of them in trouble? Do I need to go do something with that?
So talk to me about the show and who have you seen here? I mean, I've been amazed at the amount of people. 5,000 people. Yesterday, it was like the good old times of trade shows. The aisles were packed. People were stopping by. What were your hopes for the show, and what have they met your expectations?
Well, I was here last year as an attendee, and it was about half the size last year. It was a great show last year, and that's why I kind of decided to come back. But I came back with a booth, and I'm a speaker at this show. But wow, I agree. There are just a bazillion people here, like 5,000 plus or something.
What was your talk on?
My talk was on AIoT. AI is much broader than just generative AI.
Walk us through that, because everybody in the world is familiar with ChatGPT and what it does with large language models, but this is nothing new. I mean, it's new for us in the regular world because ChatGPT awakened it and gave us an easy way to access LLMs. But what other forms are out there that you'd want the world to know?
Well, in one sense, well, in every sense, generative AI has exploded into the public press and in the public's imagination and awareness. There are people that aren't really aware of it yet, but they're getting fewer and fewer. Generative AI is poked through, and I think it's mostly because you can go out to these generative, to OpenAI, and you can type in it like you said you were doing, right? Everybody can go type and find out and play with it. The AI that I do, it's harder to do that with. Now, one of the applications for generative AI in the IoT space, I think, is for giving a human user interface to some of these IoT devices. And so that's one of the interesting use cases for it.
Yeah, I'm seeing that a lot. I mean, a lot of data-rich projects, if you can apply natural language to them for an enterprise, you give them easier access. They can be accessed by a different level of skilled employee all of a sudden instead of a computer scientist. A manager can access them all of a sudden.
Even a manager.
That would be less than skilled in how to manipulate data to see it. And that was one of the great things about ChatGPT. When it came through, we became, because my PR agency creates a lot of content, we became coders of language. And we could never do that before. We'd always looked at it as a kind of mysterious process of the storytelling that was somehow within a neural network of your brain. But all of a sudden, we could stop and we could identify those elements of language and ask the machine to generate them. So you became a kind of a natural language coder. And it was a fascinating phenomenon, especially for those of us who knew how to create and write, because it leveraged our time so well instead of having to pick every piece of data, which in our world is the comma, the period, the colon, the semicolon, the verb, the adjective. So it really did awaken the world to it. But
well, many, many years ago, calculators came on the scene, and that was another technology that was very accessible by students, by everybody, right? And it helped you do arithmetic. ChatGPT is kind of a calculator for words. It can generate stuff for you, and I think I'm a pretty good writer, but wow, ChatGPT, I use it a lot because it is, like you said, it's very fast. But I also then will use it and say, I'll read through it and say, I like this part, I like that phrase, this is just not right, and so I'll strike it. The one thing that I tell people is, don't ever blame ChatGPT or these large language models and say, I didn't, it's what it told me, I just used it. You're responsible, you're accountable. If your name is on it, you're accountable for what it says. If you don't like something, strike it, change it, whatever. But it's a great productivity tool.
It is. I want to thank you for being with us, Scott.
Gregory, it's a pleasure.
Good conversation, and best of luck with Knowledge Reactor, your firm, and how you're building a connection between AI and the Internet of Things. So,
thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Take care.
Bye-bye.